You know I'm a petty, right? One's in chat if you think I'm petty, two if you don't. Right, context, all right? Space Marines, all right? Space Marines are my main army, all right? They're the only army I play competitively. But obviously, a really popular unit right now is a Vindicator. And a lot of people are choosing to use the Horus Heresy Vindicator. This is what it looks like. Do you spot the problem with this Vindicator compared to a 40k Vindicator? That's right, this dozer blade, right? I couldn't even scratch my ass with that Vindicator's dozer blade. I think this Vindicator is too small, hence it's still in the box. It's still sealed, all right? Because if I thought it was the right size, I would have built it and used it because I need 2 Vindicators for my list. I'm going to a tournament in like a month. I need 2 Vindicators. However, somebody, I'm not going to name any names. If they want to admit it, that's fine. But I'm not going to name any names. Somebody told me I was full of horseshit, quote, because I said that this Vindicator is smaller, or at least I said, I think it's smaller. So I went out today and bought a space... Oh, it's got my order number on. So today I went out and bought an old Space Marine Vindicator, and I'm going to build these and find out if one is bigger than the other, because I'm pretty sure that dozer blade is going to have a significant difference to that one, which has nothing... It's nothing. The dozer blade she tells you not to worry about. I might even open it now, because, look, before I do... Either way, I win this argument. If I'm right and this Vindicator is smaller, I get to laugh at everybody and call everybody big cheaters for using a model that's smaller, it's molded for advantage, and I get to tell the person who said I was full of horse quote that they are actually the ones full of because I've proven it. However, if it's not smaller and it's the same, chat, you might be thinking, Mikey, you fucked it. You're gonna have to admit you're wrong. If it's the same size, I've got 2 Vindicators, lads. Just save myself 40 quid. Because you'll never guess where I got this Vindicator from. Who's supporting the channel by powering this stream using my link in the description. You can grab yourself some discount Warhammer with free delivery and earn points every time you buy. I actually got £10 knocked off this Vindicator because I've been saving up my points, my out points. So you can grab one of these as well as loads of other Warhammer things, okay, at a discount, and you can support me every time you buy something. I get a kickback. How cool is that? Look at the size of that dozer blade, bro. Right, I'm taking it off the sprue. You know what I will say, chat, which I completely forgot to mention? Crucially, before we look at the size of the dozer blade, the box is much thinner. Almost like the tank is going to be thinner as well. Look, perfectly flat on the back. It's thinner. So there's the hull. Oh, that looks a hell of a lot bigger without building it. That doesn't look like exhaust stacks are going to make up that difference. That's all I'm going to say. No, I can't actually test now because I do need to put it together. Okay, but this Vindicator has extra armor, but is it that much extra armor? That looks a lot wider because basically the supports sit on the outside and around the Rhino. I think this is a valid conversation, a very interesting one, because a lot of people buy the 30k version of a 40k vehicle for Space Marines. You know, the fact that all the 30k stuff has been banned / legends from 40k, a lot of people, including myself, use 30k vehicles as their 40k equivalents, and a lot of the time it's not an issue. You know, like as we've mentioned, as far as I'm aware, the Deimos Rhino, the plastic 30k Rhino, is the same, if not bigger than the 40k version. If you are like using something that's slightly too big, that's okay, because that will make a huge difference to line of sight. Because if something's bigger, it's much harder to hide, it's much harder to maneuver, it's harder to get it like behind walls or into buildings, and also it's harder to get it through gaps, which is the big one. And it's like, if there's a gap between buildings, you know, especially because a lot of people who are watching, you know, use tournament layouts. You know, the intention, because obviously they haven't been tested with every unit, let's be honest. But the intention is you can only get so much through certain gaps, you know. You can't have your entire army behind a building, then your entire army in open line of sight where they can see everything and kill it. Which is causing a huge drama, as Shadowsun's brought up, drama in the Eldar community, because a lot of people are complaining about the extra fins a Wave Serpent has. Because a Fire Prism a falcon, and a wave serpent are all the same kit, but a wave serpent has wave serpent fins. So a lot of people are kind of like blown up being like, do I have to stick on these fins on my wave serpent? And it's like, yeah, because if you don't put them on, you are intentionally making your model smaller, so you are modeling for advantage. So like, if you are using something that's the same size or bigger, no one really minds. But if you are starting to use something that's too small, you can get it around tighter corners, go into smaller gaps, and get it into places it shouldn't, which is the problem. Not being able to get a unit where it can, but because it's too big you can't, is a self-detriment, you know? You are penalizing yourself by using a different model if you're using something that's too big. If you're using it as too small, you are able to get stuff where they shouldn't be. Because it's too small, you are modeling for advantage. A lot of people, you might remember, okay, back in the day, a big problematic unit was the Wraith Knight, but not in 10th edition. Wraith Knights were really, really popular. And the Wraith Knight is a superposable unit, so you can pose it kneeling down. Okay, so it's not as crucial or as important in the current game of 40k. However, it's a prime example of being able to take a model and pose it in a way that would gain you an advantage, because in 7th edition you didn't have obscuring, you didn't have like infinitely high ruins, so a lot of people built models smaller, crouched down, so they could hide it behind smaller buildings. Okay, as I said, it's called modeling for advantages. If you've ever heard of that, it's talking about building a model or using a proxy model, because it does come under the same thing, that is giving you an advantage in some way. So that's like an older example. You've got current wave serpent drama happening now because people don't want to put the 3 fins on the tournament. If you're using a model that has a new base size that is usually larger, you are actually modeling for advantage. Even if you haven't actually modeled anything, you are actively gaining an advantage, because let's say, for example, orks went from 25mm to 32mm bases. Okay, that's a 7mm difference. Add 10 models. Now if they're crouched in a line, they're actually 70mm longer. You know, 70mm is like over nearly 3 inches longer. How much more space they should take up. So now that unit can get into smaller gaps. It can go through smaller pieces of terrain. It can end up on sides of the walls that it wouldn't normally be able to fit. Now, I don't think like modern models have this in mind, because I know a lot of models are starting to feel very like, not a starter kit, but they kind of go together one way. No questions asked, you know what I mean? They like, if a model is stood on a rock, you can't change that rock. Every model is going to be stood on a rock. But it's something you've got to be aware of. And when we are using proxy models, because using a 30k model as a 40k model, whether you like it or not, is a proxy, because it's not the right model. We have to make sure we're doing our due diligence, you know? This is a Warhammer 30k, the Horus Heresy it's actually called. It's not actually called 30k. This is a Deimos pattern Vindicator, or Siege Tank Vindicator. This is what people keep using in Warhamster 40k, which I realise I've built really badly. There is a huge gap at the back. I am an idiot. I think this is too small. All right, and I've got a scientific experiment. Okay, so as you can see, this is a 40k Vindicator and a 30k Vindicator. All right, they look very similar. When you put them side by side, they look almost identical. If you put them on top of each other, you can see that the 40k one at the bottom is wider. That's like something that I've only just realized now. If you put them there, it's not super scientific, but you can see the 40k one at the bottom is a little thicker. Now, I've got a scientific experiment. Are you ready? Okay. Because they were saying it's the same, Mikey's full of shit, the same height, same width. Look at this scientific experiment. Okay, look at this. This is a letter from Warhammer Skulls from May last year. Now, this is a 30k Rhino, or Vindicator. Look at that. It goes through gap. Look, it goes through gap. Look at that. It goes through gap, doesn't it? Great. Okay, now you can be like, Mike, you can do the same with the 40k one. Okay. Now, it's a little bit harder, but it's like millimeters off. All right, it's millimeters off. We can probably We can probably look past it. No money was spared in the production values. Bro, I had to buy 2 Vindicators. Bro. So then you're like, oh, they're basically the same. It's probably fine. Has anyone noticed anything wrong with the Vindicators? Because this is the problem. This is the problem. What's wrong with the Vindicators, chat? That's right. There's no fucking dozer blade. Let's put the dozer blade on the 40k vehicle. Huh, that's a lot wider, isn't it, chat? Look at this. This doesn't come with the dozer blade. And if it does, it sticks out the front. It's not wider. It goes into gap. Guess what doesn't go into gap anymore? It doesn't fit because I've had to rip the paper to put it through. You've got to rip the paper. The 30k one does have the exhaust. Okay, well now I can drive it into gaps into the exhaust and get where I can't. This one cannot. Siege tank, this one is cheated. Just reverse it there. Come on now. Come on now. I knew someone would say this one, that the other one's got the exhaust. This one also has exhausts, by the way. And also, I can't drive the tank forward because the siege blade gets in the way. With exhaust, I would have to stop here, but I'm still gaining distance through the gap. Okay. Can you explain this in simpler terms? Lots of people are using the 30k tank, the 30k Vindicator, as a Vindicator in 40k. Vindicators are very good and very popular. They are not the same size. They are not the same width. The 40k Vindicator is a lot wider with the dozer blade, okay? This one doesn't come with a dozer blade, which makes me say people that are using 30k tanks in 40k with no modifications as a caveat are cheating. So if you go out and buy a dozer blade for this one, whatever, then yeah, that's fine. If you've got a dozer blade on the front, then great. But without the dozer blade, it's a completely different model. And if you're using this one and recommending this one, you are actively modeling for advantage. I would like a personal apology via video to the person that said I was full of when I said this Vindicator, the Elite Vindicator, is bigger, because it is. And if someone says exhausts, well, guess what? They don't measure the model. They don't drive their model and then measure the gap from the exhaust, do they? They measure from the model, which is here, which is thinner than the exhausts. All right? If you're using the 30k Vindicator, you're just cheating, bro. So I'm formally announcing that 30k Vindicators aren't allowed without conversion, all right? If I took this Vindicator and took the siege blade off and ran it like this, people would call me a cheater. Okay, because I'm actively making my model smaller. That's all this is. Okay, it just doesn't come with a siege blade, a siege dozer thing. That's it. That's it. Okay, so all Space Marine players officially are cheating. There's the headlines. Maybe you should design a tournament legal conversion and put the STL on Cults 3D. Maybe I should. I have just ordered another Vindicator though, so I do need some subs. All right, chat, I need some subs. I spent £36 on this Vindicator. Okay, then I realized I needed another one, so I had to spend another £36. All right, so chat, I'm gonna need some members to pay for my scientific research that I bring to you, the jury. All right, I need you to become some members. So because I needed Vindicators and I needed to prove it. Okay.